I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the King George County Service Authority Board of Directors. We will begin with an invocation by Mr. Parker, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to stand, please do so.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to just note for the record that Ms. Bender contacted me and advised that she would not be able to attend this evening's meeting. Mr. Miller, do we have any amendments to the agenda?
No, sir.
Thank you. Moving on to public comment. Do we have anybody in the audience that wishes to speak? Okay. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person in order to afford everyone an opportunity to speak. If comments related to a specific public hearing item, we ask that you offer these comments at the time of the public meeting. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Ana Maria Lobo. I live in Presidential Lakes. Many of you don't know me, and I don't know really you. But I've been here coming to this courthouse in the 70s. Tonight, I am asking Mr. Miller and the Service Authority Board to please to do something about the debt. I feel this has gone for many years and should be dealt with. 40 years ago, we did not have this debt. Then, if I remember right, they had to borrow some money to fix the water in Dahlgren. The water in Dahlgren used to smell like a rotten eggs when you put your laundry or you drink it. And when I came and asked, they say they have sulfur, but I think they fixed it. When I moved to Presidential Lakes in 1994, they purchased the water system from Presidential Lakes owned by Sinairo Hydrodynamics and Alpha Water Corporation. I used to pay $20 every 2 months. In 1997, they went from flat rate to a meter rate, which caused my bill to go up. And for the rest of the county, water and sewage went up even more. Then in 2003, King George Service Authority Board went further in debt by investing $20 million more in infrastructure improvements in the water and wastewater systems throughout the county. But many people never saw the bills lower. Now, they are going to replace many of the water meters in the county. How much this is going to cost the citizens of King George? Can we afford this when they already have massive debt? Why are they doing this when we already have water and sewage rates that are high? Many of the subdivisions are new. Are you going to replace their meters as well? Who is going to pay for these meters? Can the county wait for this project, or is the county going to pay for this? In April 14, 2019, an article, The Freelancer, started talk about the Service Authority failure to comply with the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. What has been done, bring the Service Authority up to the code. I also would like to know the water leak at Nendy Store house was fixed because it was estimated to cost another $15 million in addition to millions that we already had. On December 7, 2020, King George County Service Authority received a notification from the Department of the Housing and Community Development that they were awarded $210,000 in CARES Act funds. The CARES Act funds will be used to assist customers that were behind with their water and sewage bill. I did not hear or have a letter from King George County. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else wish to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Gay.
I moved here in 2014, I think, and I think you talked about it. That's when you all came in together and said that we had to increase the water cycle because I guess way back when it was not up to par. So I think that year you all started increasing the bill. So I think this is the fourth year and you got one more year. So first of all, I didn't get any bill to say it was going to be increased this last time. And I've been told it was on a website, but it was never sent out to King George community. That's one thing I have a problem with. And the other one, after next year, what happens when the 5 years is up? Because that's what you all told us. If I'm not mistaken, it was in 2014. I'd like to know what's going to happen after that, because we have the highest water bill in the whole, for me, in the county of Virginia, of the state of Virginia. And I think that's unacceptable because the water to me is still the same. It has a lot of iron in it. I don't know what you all had to do to get it up to par, but to me, it's personally, I wouldn't even give it to my dead mother. So I'd like to know what's going to happen after next year when it's supposed to be at the height of the 5th year. What happens after that? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Dines, do you have anybody online?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Although someone is, if they were getting ready to speak. CG, are you ready to speak?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, reports from the board members. Mr. Parker.
No report, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Kupka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have a formal report this evening, but I wanted to acknowledge the members of the public, our customers who came out to speak, to share their concerns with us this evening. There was a lot to digest there in your comment. I can tell you, Ms. Lovell, I believe they are exploring a plan to repair the dam in Presidential Lakes. I can also tell you that some of the facilities that we are planning to replace, we are required, you mentioned the DEQ fines, we are required, there is a consent order that requires us to take offline a couple of our water treatment plants, and some of how we're doing that is with the state funding, the ARPA wastewater money, the $16 million award we received in the state budget this year. So we are exploring every avenue we possibly can to obtain outside funding to do the things that the state has imposed upon us. I would also note to you that these are historical problems to both of you, that I was elected in 2019, so I started serving in 2020. And all of my colleagues here today, with the exception of Ms. Bender, they all came on this board after me. So we are trying to do everything we can to address the issues. But the reality is we inherited these issues. So we are trying to work through them as expeditiously and in a most fiscally responsible manner that we can. With regard to your comment about the CARES Act funds, the DHCD CARES Act funds, so those funds were restricted for people who were behind in arrears on their bill. So if you were not in arrears, you were not contacted about that. We did have advertisements on our website. The newspaper did a newspaper article about it. And it's my understanding that Service Authority staff also worked to individually contact any customers who were in arrears to offer them the opportunity to apply for the funding to have that debt resolved. So I'm sorry if you weren't able to take advantage of that, but that was for a specific sector of our customers. And Ms. Gay, thank you for coming out this evening. And I understand your concerns that that was a 5-year rate plan. It was instituted by Again, the board in 2019, we are, as you said, in the fourth year. It was something that we had to do to attempt to show that we could remain fiscally solvent and address the issues again that DEQ was requiring us to address. We will probably, over the course of the next year, look at what needs to happen going forward, because as you said, it was a 5-year rate plan, and at the end of 5 years, we need to address the issues. So I am sorry I don't have firm answers, but I don't have a firm answer for you tonight. But we are aware of the situation and trying to do what we can to address it. So thanks again for coming out tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kopka. Ms. Cleveland.
Yes, I don't have a board report, but would also like to say thank you to the members of the public that came out. I want you to know that I am also a client of the Service Authority, and it is very important to me that we're making the right decisions to make sure that we're financially stable as we move forward. This is not just important for me to do for our clients in the community, but also for me and my family as well. So I realize the concerns that you said, they are valid, absolutely, and we are doing everything that we can on this board to make the best decisions so that we're making sure that our clients are happy and taken care of.
Thank you, Ms. Cleveland. And I would like to say, again, I am also a customer. I'm also a retiree, so I'm on a fixed budget. I understand that fully. That's why I agreed to serve on the board, to see what could be done about this. We are looking at ways to make things better and more efficient. That's part of the reason for the new meters. Yes, we have to lay out some costs for those new meters, but it's going to save us hundreds of man hours that we spend every 2 months sending people out to do reads. Ms. Patty, I'm sure you got some numbers. What'd you tell us? It already knocked 2-3 days off the meter reading schedule, which we can put those personnel to other tasks on maintaining the system or improving the system. We're also bound by regulations to keep track of leakage in the system between what we output and what the customers use. There's a discrepancy there that there's a max allowed. These new meters will give us a more accurate reading of what is going on and if we do have leaks or waste in the system, so then the engineering and the maintenance staff can find them and get them repaired, which saves us money in the long run. So unfortunately, sometimes you got to spend money to save money, but we're trying to make things more efficient. I understand the rates, but I can tell you too, we are not the highest. We're up there, but we're not the highest. You want to see higher? Look, Caroline County, Lake Landor, and Lake Caroline. That's a private water system. If you want to see how high rates can go, but we understand. I understand everybody's concerns, and we're open to any suggestions, any input. So, if you think you got a way to, as they say, build a better mousetrap, contact any one of us. We're willing to listen. And thank you for coming out this evening. We wish more folks came out and put their 2 cents in, because this being an authority, we're essentially all customers. We're all end users. We all got a stake in the game. So thank you. Okay, moving on. Consent agenda.
Motion to accept the consent agenda is written.
Second.
Motion's been made in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion carries. Moving on to the county attorney. I believe Ms. Lackey's calling in.
Yes, sir. I believe she is. Is she online, Mr. Dines? Okay.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Can.
Mr. Dines, give me a little bit more about.
I have just a couple items. The first is both items actually. There's materials in the agenda package. The first relates to a proposed deed of vacation for Hop Yard Farm. In sections 6 and 7 of Hop Yard Farm, there were a couple small parts of utility easements that overlap areas designated as streets. They've gotten to the point of development when they're looking for VDOT to accept those streets. In order for VDOT to accept the streets, there can't be any encumbrances that have higher priority than the road. So the request has been made that the service authority release the easements just for those small slivers of easement that overlap the areas on streets in sections 6 and 7. It just affects portions adjacent to a couple of the lots that you can see on the plat that's included in your agenda package. So there is a deed proposed for that, and if it's the will of the board to have that deed executed by the chair, that can be taken care of.
Okay, so to clarify, this is essentially just a housekeeping matter between us, VDOT, and the developer?
Right. This is kind of something that happens in the normal course. Typically, they would have cleaned up those utility easement lines as they went through the different sections of the subdivision. I guess they thought they were so minimal they didn't address it at the time that they replatted between sections 6 and 7. So it's just a small encroachment on a couple locations they're asking to have cleared up.
Okay.
Okay. And the second item is that Aqua Virginia, which is a private utility provider, this is an informational item only, so this does not affect service authority customers, but I thought it would be a good informational item that even those who have a different private provider, they are subject to rate increases as well. I received a notification Aqua Virginia is proposing to recover about $8 million, beginning with the customer bills, which my understanding there's a customer base in Presidential Lakes, would likely begin paying some increases beginning December 13th. The proposed rate increase would be along the lines of a 3 to 3.5% increase. They gave the measure of, for a customer who uses 4,000 gallons a month, they would experience a 3.15% increase in water and a 3.49% increase for wastewater. So again, those rates are proposed to be effective mid-December, and the Aqua Virginia is going to the Virginia State Corporation Commission to ratify those rates on January 25th. If there's anyone who wants to give public testimony, they have to give notice to the State Corporation Commission by January 18th. And there's materials in the agenda package about that if there's anyone who has an interest in that. And that's all I have, unless there's any direction on the Hop Yard Farm deed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Parker?
So I make a motion that we allow the chairman to execute the deed of vacation for some of the utility facilities in section 6 and 7 of Hop Yard Farm.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just had a question for Ms. Lackey. Can I ask that now?
Yeah.
Okay. And the easement that we're going to release, in the event that, I guess, the road would be taken up or something would happen, would it affect us to have that easement back to be able to get to where we need to get on the property?
It shouldn't. The roads are actually dedicated to the county, and VDOT maintains them, but so the service authority as well as the county has access to those roadways.
Okay, so the roads belong to the county anyway, so it wouldn't. I guess that answers my question then. Yeah, we're good.
You okay?
Yeah. I figured as much. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. So we have a motion, properly second. Roll vote. Mr. Parker?
Aye.
Ms. Kupka?
Aye.
Ms. Cleveland?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion carries. So you okay with that, Ms. Lackey?
Yes, thank you very much. There is a deed that'll be available at the end of the meeting for you to sign, Mr. Morris. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. Presentation and reports. Maintenance Division.
It's going to be, excuse me, that's going to be me. Excuse me, Mr. Eisenbeis is not here tonight, and Mr. Goldman is not here tonight, so you get me. I'm sure John and Jerry could do a much better job than I can, but so John Eisenbeis provided us with some information, some stats for the month of September. 352 utility locates. Ryan Portner performs those for us. 18 new meter sets. We are replacing meters, obviously, but the replacements have been suspended with the new meter program, obviously, because they're going in and upgrading those. And 109 calls for service. Thought that was very interesting. So we had some, excuse me, my voice is going out. The safety items at Perkins plant from with Vosh's requirements. So we have upgraded those. And if you recall, for those who did the tour back in, I guess it was March, Mr. Parker and Miss Bender, at the time, there may have been some of these grates that were off of the plant, and those have now all been completely replaced. We had a welder who fabricated those and put those back in, and so those are in place. We are starting the hydrant repairs countywide. We'll work with the fire department on that. And then part of our requirements under the superseding consent order is to begin the pump station repairs, upgrades at the Burger King Fast Mart pump station. And that is something that we're in the process of doing. Obviously, we were hit by, just like everybody else in the industry, with the delays for receiving materials. And so we have been working with DEQ on this and notifying them. So can tell you that. Some ongoing valve repairs at Dahlgren plant. And then we have some potable water line repair at the Dahlgren plant as well. And then PLC upgrades at Hop Yard and Fairview Beach plants as well. So also have the maintenance, or excuse me, the water division. And you can see what Jerry's crews are doing. They're helping out with so the DEQ is requiring us, as you may remember, to put in an observatory well at Canterbury. And this has started. And so our folks are there kind of monitoring, or at least working and being available to help them out. The pilot hole has been drilled down to about 620 feet. They do soil samples, not soil samples every 10 feet, but they'll re-drill after all these rain. There obviously been a little holdup, but they'll re-drill and the well will be constructed. Chemical lines at Hop Yard have been repaired or have been repiped. They're no longer in the ceiling. Really, a lot of what Jerry's crews are doing right now is some pipe rehab. It's happening at the Oakland Park well house. They're painting, they're sanding, scraping, and painting those, just doing some regular maintenance. The Arnold's Well 1, which is over by Sheets, that is, we're meeting with the electrical engineer on the SCADA. And the well at the Payne Well House, we're waiting on some paperwork. We also have Bryce Young is here, and he's going to update you during the general manager's report, and he can answer some of these questions as well because he's involved in all of these, and he could probably talk a lot better than I can. We're working with Draper Hayden, which is now TRC. They're doing the water projects under the grant. We have a meeting this week to go over the process internally about procurement and the financing for those projects. This is part of the water grant that we got through the Virginia Department of Health. We also are, and I'll tell you that in a second here about the wastewater, but Jerry's crews are obviously very involved in that as well, with the water projects and the timing and all that kind of stuff. So that's about it on the water side. I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any questions for Mr. Miller? Okay. No.
One thing I would say is that in talking with Mr. Goldman, and this is a follow-up, Ms. Kupka had asked at the last meeting about the King George Elementary School and the reports of some chlorine in the smell, heavy smell. He indicated he got with Mr. Clift, and they hadn't necessarily, Mr. Clift did not indicate that there was a serious problem or concern, but our crews were responsive. But at this point, they haven't heard anything back of any significant concerns or of parents or anything like that. So, general
Thank you.
manager's report. Get to talk again. Okay, so there was a memo from Travis Cusenberry, and we also have Bryce Young, our principal engineer, is here. He can help kind of fill in the blanks a little bit if you need to. Fairview Beach, as you remember, Ms. Cleveland had asked for an idea of what kind of a cost proposal would exist if you looked at replacing the lines in Fairview Beach. And the email that I received from Mr. Cusenberry talks about the 2013, the Waterworks Improvement Project, which called for about 160,000 gallon water storage tank and an 8,000 gallon hydro pneumatic tank, booster pumps, treatment equipment, building valves, and then also installation of about 4,000 feet of 8-inch diameter water main and about 1,400 feet of 4-inch diameter main. So that's a recent work that was done. But the more important thing, I think, from an internal engineer's estimate, we're looking at about $4 million, and that's based on $350 per linear foot of 8-inch diameter pipe, and then $300 per linear foot for 4-inch diameter pipe. Now, obviously, that's a major expense, but what Mr. Cusenberry is recommending that we look for some funding that would allow us to appropriate some funds that you could then turn it over to an engineer. You do an RFQ, and you let an engineer, a consulting engineer, put together a preliminary engineering report. If that's something that we do, obviously it may be something that has to be kind of brought into our capital improvement plan over a couple of years. But yeah, I did want to just circle that back. I don't know if there's some things that I was going to ask Bryce to talk about, some project updates. If you want to ask Bryce, some more specific information about this, there is a section there on my general manager's report where we're talking about the project updates, and he could certainly answer any of this. So I don't know if you need to do that yet, but do you want to wait, or do you want to go ahead now? Yeah, okay. So update on the proposed consent order. We have submitted a response back to DEQ, and Ms. Lackey can certainly weigh in on this as well, but we're essentially asking for more clarification about their proposed consent order, and specifically about the fines that they're proposing on the service authority, getting into some of the more nitty-gritty details of what they're asking or what they're posting as a fine, and the reasons for it. So we did respond. That was due yesterday. We did get that out, and so we look forward to working with them. Superseding consent order, which is the consent order that was approved by this board in August of, I believe it was, yes, August of 2021. It was Mr. Weekly and Mr. Britton, our county attorney at the time, had negotiated that. And we're working towards that. One of the requirements is every 6 months we're to provide them with an update on the activities, the task orders, if you will, that relate to the pump stations. And Ms. Norris Parker and myself will be, excuse me, I should have let you talk. Ms. Norris Parker and myself will be providing our October update to the DEQ this week. It is due by Monday the 10th, and so we have a whole series of things that we will be providing them information on. So mercifully, the project updates, and Mr. Bryce Young can come up here and talk about it.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Board. Few little project updates. The Fairview Beach outfall is currently out to bid, and we are awaiting one final permit approval while it is out to bid. That should be coming in any day now. As for the I&I ongoing project, I have not made a ton of progress due to the sheer load of the other projects, one of which was the Waterworks Business Operations Plan. Happy to report that has been accepted by VDH, and it was sent back, no comments, accepted, we're good to go there. The Dahlgren Pond decommissioning, that is right around $125,000. That came in a couple days ago. That seems to be a very good price in today's market, and we plan to proceed with that. Lastly, Perkins Corner decommissioning. The PER is soon to be wrapping up so that we can move on to the design phase of the project.
Thank you.
I think there may be some questions about the Fairview Beach water distribution. And I would just point out one thing, the beach outfall, if you, just as a recollection reminder, I guess, that is the wastewater outfall that goes out into the Potomac. And it is a 8-inch pipe currently that goes into a 4-inch pipe. And what we're doing, because we had problems with that this last Thanksgiving, we are having it go completely 8-inch. And so we're working with Virginia Department of Marine Resources, DEQ. I guess Maryland has something to say about it too. But, and again, this is good, clear water. Goes in better than it, or it goes out better than it comes in. So please note, it's not just a bunch of raw sewage that's going out there. But you want to talk about the distribution or answer any questions?
Happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is in reference to the Fairview Beach, the estimate about the replacement of the pipes. So what is a normal maintenance schedule on those pipes? So like, do you know what year they were constructed and what's normally when they should be reconstructed or updated?
The lifespan of a pipe depends on the type of pipe. And as with many systems, I do not know exactly when this went in. A lot of these systems don't have the best documentation about when they went in because they started out as private systems that the authorities then buy. So we have information on pipes, where they're at and such. We don't always know exact details. And what the pipes are made out of really affects the lifespan of the pipes. Typically, some of these pipes only have lifespans of about 30 to 40 years. Now, the newer style pipes, the PVC and C900 style pipes that we put in, they have a longer lifespan.
So the ones in Fairview Beach, so I believe those houses were built like in the 1950s, right? And I think some of them are still pipes from the 1950s. And I don't really know what they're made of, but should we be concerned that we have pipes that are clearly need to be replaced?
I could also ask Ms. Norris Barker, since you've been with the Service Authority since the Service Authority essentially was formed, is that correct? And you know that this was Sidner that I believe ran that. Do you have any information that you would share or anything about, because I know some of it's cast iron, we got cast iron, some of it's not terracotta, but duct, yeah. So there's a kind of a smorgasbord in there. So it is some of the original stuff is in there. And then you probably have stuff that was put in by homeowners, I would assume, that kind of did their own thing or they made their own connections.
Just to jump in on this, yeah, you have to replace the pipe, but the age of the pipe doesn't necessarily mean water quality issues. I've literally dug up pipe in New York City that's wood. It still operates fine. Now it's a giant pain when you do that because there's no way to tap into it, but it still functions. There's still terracotta pipe in New York City that's hundreds of years old that runs their sewer and it works fine. As long as it's not broken or degraded, the theoretical replacement lifespan can be much more. The question is what's the condition? We'd have to go assess it and see where it's kind of what it looks like from the inside.
And there's many factors into that, such as soil composition and such. And I would like to reiterate that there's no health concerns associated with this pipe, especially at this time.
Yeah, and so I'm not talking about the sewer, so I'm talking about the water lines, right? And I'm not saying that there is any health or safety concerns, but I guess the concern that I have, especially being a resident of Potomac Landing, although it says that there's no issues with the pipes in Potomac Landing, we get our water from Fairview Beach. So we get the water from Fairview Beach as well. And so it's going through those pipes and we clearly get stuff in our water. It is dirty at times. Our neighbors say that it's dirty at times. Our neighbors in Fairview Beach say that their water is dirty at times. The smell of chlorine, because they have to put in additional chlorine to make it so that the, I guess because the pipes are old, they have to have additional treatment. And this is a big concern and something that we really need to think about as a board. I know this is a lot of money, but at the end of the day, what happens to those pipes over time is that our clients are getting poor quality water, right? And if some of these pipes are from the 1950s, that could mean that some of these pipes are 70 years old. And I know that you had said that they could still work, and obviously they are still working, but we're not talking sewer, we're talking water. So, and I don't, this isn't my, I'm not an engineer. I don't know anything about engineering, but I have a concern that we need to look at that. What is it made out of? What is a maintenance schedule normally? And at least fix the ones that probably need attention.
Mr. Young, we have figures here for two different, for an 8-inch and for a 4-inch. So the mains would be 8 inches and the branch would be the 4-inch?
Yes, the primary reason you would put in an 8-inch over a 4-inch in a community that size is for fire flow.
Okay. And would the 4-inch give us the required fire flow?
Not always in places. That's the reason you do up the size to 8-inch pipe, and then you have the 4-inch filling in the different streets. That's
Okay.
more of the drinking water delivery, and the 8-inch would be the fire flow skeleton.
Okay. So,
And these are not exact numbers.
right.
These, if we move forward with a project of this nature, there would be engineering drawings and models done
Right.
to figure out what size pipes would be appropriate throughout the system to handle today's population and tomorrow's population. How we expect the area to grow, expand, or if we expect it to stay the same. These are all things we take into account.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Miller, do you have anything else?
Oh, no, sir.
All right, make a motion to adjourn to October 18th, 2022 at 5:30 PM here in the boardroom.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. We are hereby adjourned until October 18th, 2022 at 5:30 PM here in the boardroom.
So I'll talk to